Oh, whoa, that wasn't even close. There we go. Good morning, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the Church of Doom. Hope everybody's having a good morning. How we doing? I had a nice morning. I dropped Mother Doom off at work today so I could have the car to go do some grocery shopping. I had a nice breakfast with a bagel. Haven't had a bagel in a while. And then was just thinking back on a session of D&D I ran last night. I had my Tuesday campaign group, and that group had, in a matter of just like a week, went from 4 players to 6, which 2 players doesn't sound like a whole lot. But last night's session, I think, was a good one. Like, there was combat, there was roleplay, there was some new stuff discovered about a couple of the characters. If Mark is listening, if you're tuned into the stream right now, Mark, I'd be happy to hear from you. Of course, don't just kiss my ass. If there were ways to improve it, I'd love to hear it. But I definitely left that session feeling like, whoa, like I could feel the difference between moving a spotlight around 4 players and 6 players. I was like, that was harder to do for sure. So I hope everybody in last night's session still felt like they had their time, had their moment. But yeah, it was still a fun session. It was a good time. And then, but today, what are we doing today, right? Well, I'll show you. Today, as we're letting folks trickle in, we are going to be working on hexes 1 and 2, the Bombarded Garden and the Heaven Steps. The Bombarded Garden being this ancient, technologically advanced city that was built sort of in secret by Vecna and the gods to help in the construction of the Ark. And then when the Ark left on the Great Pilgrimage, the gods destroyed the city. And it's turned into this big crater land at the edge of this peninsula where jungles have grown down into these craters. And then Hex 2 is Heaven Steps, which is this series of ziggurats that people think are just golden temples, but they are actually the like launch stations or the tops of this underground landing bay where the ships that were used as part of the city that was in the Bombarded Garden, they would come down and stock up their supplies and stuff. I guess we do kind of have to think about why they are in 2 totally different hexes. Like, why aren't they closer to each other? Because each hex is like several days of travel. But we'll figure that out when we get there. Also, what do we think of the updated map? It is a work in progress, but I'm starting this campaign with my group of 4 players tonight. So last night I was up till midnight. I was like, I gotta get something done that I can show them. Because I didn't want each hex to just be a screen capture of the art for like that specific hex. I was like, that's kind of lame. I want there to be a little more variety, so I tried to just grab an image that best captured like the vibe of that hex. So what does everybody think? Hey, good morning, Mark. Sweet, good to see you here. What'd you say? I do think that moving the spotlight around could use some work. Angela was effed out a bit in my opinion. Yeah, I know, I felt bad. I tried to get... It's interesting. I agree with what you're saying, Mark. I totally agree. Angelo and Tiber to a certain extent. I was like, I don't know how to bring you into the session tonight. But normally, I felt like Angelo is like a role player. Like, that's how he sort of shines during the sessions. Not necessarily in combats, but like talking to these characters. And there were 2 opportunities where I feel like he could have like engaged in more of a dialogue with, especially the new player, or really any of the characters. I feel like there's lots of like little nuggets of conversations you guys could have that aren't being had, which is fine. But I felt bad. I was like, I don't want to like force you to have these roleplay conversations, but it feels like that's what he likes to do. And I'm not sure if it's just the fact that there's like new players that maybe he's like not wanting to like be like the dominant voice right now, and he wants to let them have their time. I'm not sure, but I agree. I gotta think of a way to do that. How do you guys move the spotlight? How do you do it? I usually play in turn order, but now that I'm thinking about it, I've gotten a little lazy with that. Like, normally when people show up to town, I'm like, all right, you guys have a turn in town. What do you guys want to do? And then each player really kind of has to like, there's no wasting time. I feel like when you play in turn order, it's easier to avoid the shopping episodes because, I mean, unless you have a group of 6 players, and then each person's turn and the shopping can take a little while. But yeah, I've the past couple sessions in a couple of my groups have actually been sort of like, like once we're out of a combat, like what's going on? What do you guys want to do? And a little open-ended, and maybe that's part of why things have slowed down a little bit. Maybe I'll try that again tonight with your other group, Mark. See how we do. What's up, Doman? Good morning. Good to see you here. And Samael, good morning. Hi, watching while driving. Safety first. Hey! Don't endanger other people. I hope you mean you're listening while driving. What's up, Twin Steel? Haven't seen you in the chat in a couple days. Good to see you here. And what's this last little message from Mark? I think it's mostly the 2 new players in the 2 weeks kind of threw people off. Yeah, it is a lot to, like, throw into a group, especially an online group where you just don't have that same, like, energy as you do in person. That makes it a little easier to get into a dialogue with a new person. When it's online, it can be awkward for sure. But anyways, yeah, that's what I've got going on. Running my campaigns, trying to figure out ways to move through turns a little better, keep the energy up. And I've been working on the zine, getting some cool art done for it. So why don't we jump into things, yeah? Why don't we get brainstorming? I think it makes more sense to do the Bombarded Gardens first, and then take that context over to Hex 2, Heaven's Steps, yeah? I feel like if we try to do Heaven's Steps first, we'll be kind of having to make a lot of assumptions about what is going on with the city in the Bombarded Garden, and I don't necessarily want to do that. So we're going to start with that. Hey, what's up, Infinite? You're here just in time. Oh, also, once we're done with these 2 hexes, I think we'll wrap up with a little, like, random brainstorm for some ideas. On Patreon, I've started, in addition to, like, the Sunday homebrew, which goes out, which is mostly, like, updates on the pages I finish for the zine. I want to start adding just a couple little extra random pages of scripture for things that are unrelated to what we work on stream. And the most recent poll was for some lingering spirits, so we're going to brainstorm some ideas for ghosts and things like that. But that's going to be at the end. Oh, Doman, I did see the mini you sent. Hold on, let me see if there's a way. If you guys remember, Doman had sent, had messaged, or blah, blah, blah. Doman had mentioned in chat that he had, like, this doppelganger wizard that he was working on. Oh, yeah, you know what I can do? I should be able to just paste it right into, perfect, yeah. What a weird, freaky looking mini, dude. It's super cool. It was not at all what I was expecting when you said you were doing a doppelganger wizard. Maybe, did you explain the, here's what he wrote in his email. So he said, this dude is a changeling wizard called Elmore the Elf, as he posed as an elf for most of his life. This is his final form, where he fuses all of his obtained powers together. His shadowy form was one of the spells he created. His shadowy form was one of the spells he created. The dragon was a psionic forest guardian beast that the druid in the party was a friend of and saved the dragon's egg from being obtained. The little bumps on his body are all little hearts of a race of shroom goblins he created, as they conduct magic better than any other species of humanoids and many other bad things. The wings can be attached to the mini via magnets and are glued under the paint. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's so sick, Doman. Very, very sick. What's coming out of the mouth? Maybe you described that? Almost looks like a goblin head or an elf head. Is it like an elf head coming out of a dragon head? Regardless, dude, it's sick. And the, like, fuzzy hair all over his body's really cool. Yeah. Nice work, Doman. Very, very sick. What did Mark say here? Oh, no, he was talking about the Bombarded Gardens. Okay. Anyways, Doman. Yeah, just wanted to show it off. Thanks for passing that along to me. Very cool stuff. It would be fun to, I guess this is sort of the perk of having a Discord, but hey, we'll see if I get around to that again. But anyways, if you guys have other things you want to show off, maybe shoot them to me in an email. It'd be cool to do like a viewer section of the stream. I don't know what I would call it. Maybe like something like from the congregation, where you guys could send like minis you've been working on, or homebrew ideas you've got, or like you want like feedback on an idea, and we can sort of talk through the stuff that you send in. I think that would be really cool. Maybe I do need to get the Discord going again. We'll see. All right, let's jump into it. The Bombarded Garden. Oh, whoops! I gotta copy down our description here. All right. Oh my God. There you are. Okay. Sorry, I was a little late to get prepped for you guys this morning, just with the grocery shopping and dropping Aaron off. I normally have all this stuff. I try to have it done beforehand, but let's bring in our little map reference image, and we'll be good to go. Okay. The Bombarded Garden is a sprawling cluster of jungle-filled craters surrounding where the peninsula's largest city, Feather Wharf. Oh, I forgot I gave it a name. Feather Wharf. I actually thought that was kind of a cool name. I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts, because A wharf? Oh shit, what is the definition of a wharf? I feel like it was another word for like a dock or something. A structure built on the shore at which ships can load and unload. So wharf, sort of a dock, but it does, like when I hear dock, I think of the ocean. Wharf obviously is meant for boats, but I feel like it could easily be applied to something more inland, like a skyship port, because it doesn't have such a strong connotation, at least for me when I hear the word, is like ocean. And then feather, because I thought maybe I've been talking every time we do the stream of like, I want something with birds. There needs to be something cool with birds. But we haven't really done anything crazy with them yet. Maybe this could be that place. There's skyships, things that fly, that obviously leans well into this idea of birds and feathers and things like that. So Feather Wharf was a name I thought we could use, but I'm open to other ideas. Anyway, so it was where the peninsula's largest city, Feather Wharf, once stood. It is said only Vecna knows why the gods destroyed it and what treasures might be found in its surviving dungeons at the bottom of its deepest crater. We sort of have kind of developed this setting to a point where that lore doesn't make sense. Like, clearly the gods destroyed this place to cover up evidence of the sin they committed and to destroy as much of the technology as they could that might help people rebuild the Ark or build new vessels to go up into the heavens, right? The whole point was to keep people stranded on the old world. So, but I guess Vecna, this still applies in the sense that Vecna is the only one who knows that. But in terms of why the city was destroyed, even he there's more details we know about that. Okay, so with all that information, all that lore dump, what do we want to start brainstorming for the Bombarded Garden? Which is sort of an interesting hex because there isn't a city there anymore. It's not like the Citadel of Ivory or the Violet Port, where all of these ideas sort of pertain mostly to the settlement, and then there's a couple ideas about the location or the region of jungle around it. This is like still a wilderness hex, where you're exploring all these micro jungles and all these different craters, and at the bottom of some of them you'll find evidence of this ancient city or ruins and things like that, the dungeons that were left behind. So keep that in mind too as we start to describe this. But Mark had an idea. I'm kind of coming up in the chat a little bit. He said, maybe with the Bombarded Gardens, there is a field of crystallized bodies, kind of like Pompeii. That is interesting. Maybe something about... So the stars are flung down from the heavens. What is going on with my speaking today? Good Lord. The gods throw a bunch of stars down. It's basically a meteor storm that explodes. Anybody that would be like in the city would just be gone. But certainly there might be some like little towns or villages kind of out in the jungle surrounding the city. Well, would there be? Probably not, because the idea was this was like a secret base. It was not like something. It wasn't a bustling Waterdeep. It was built with a very specific purpose, almost like a military city. Is kind of how you could think about it. Like those, like when they built the town out in New Mexico when they were building the atomic bomb, and like they had all the scientists and their families come live there. That's sort of what I imagine for the city. So I don't know if there would be a bunch of little towns around it. Maybe like, could be interesting, Mark, going off your idea, if there were lizard folk or other sort of humanoid creatures that you could find these petrified forms of that got hit by the blast. That is an interesting idea. We'll think about it. Infinite, that's a cool idea. The Congregation Confessions could be a name for when we share our creations. Although I already do have something on the Patreon called the Creative Confessionals, where it's for the $25 and the $50 tiers, like twice a month. For the $50 tier, we hop on a 30-minute call and brainstorm or talk through whatever they want. So I don't know if I want to use confession again. Desert-like canyons? Kenneth, I don't know if desert canyons works, though, in this tropical environment. Because the idea is not it's a blasted, dead crater wasteland. The idea is that it was that at one point, but then the jungle grew in. The jungle was so resilient and so tropical and wild that it crawled its way down into these craters. So I don't think we'll do something with deserty vibes. People that were clamoring at the perimeter fence trying to get in to be saved. Oh, trying to get in to be saved. Interesting. That feels like a cool idea we should maybe take over to Heaven's, the Heaven's Steps. Of people trying to get to the ships that hadn't left yet. and desperately trying to escape this place before their doom. Send the link for the Sunday D&D, please. Well, if you actually go down, Kenneth, in the link in the description, that'll take you to my Start Playing page, and then you can just find the Sunday campaign there. Oh man, we need to get rolling with some ideas. Maybe we can start with the city was built as a military complex. I mean, it wasn't really military though. That was more of the vibe. The city was built as a scientific research facility or scientific research and manufacturing facility. For void-capable vessels. The city was built as a scientific research and manufacturing facility for void-capable vessels, and had... I'm trying to think of a way to describe its dungeons. And what would the dungeons be? Why would these cities have super secret underground dungeons? Maybe just like the technology they were working with was unstable. But if they're just developing... If they're developing essentially rockets, is sort of the idea here. What would they need to be so deep underground for? Maybe they had some of the most advanced secrets like down in lead-lined vaults. So you'd have to go down there to ensure it couldn't be scryed on by enemy gods or things like that. Maybe. Has anybody got an idea for what the dungeons are going to be? Infinite said one of the craters was once the city graveyard. So the deeper you go, the more you find scattered skeletons and bodies. Maybe a crypt. Yeah, we could do a crypt where the scientists were entombed. Interesting. A crypt could work. We'll think about it. The city was built as a scientific research and manufacturing facility for void-capable vessels, and had many of its secrets hidden away in lead-lined vaults deep beneath the city. Survived the meteor strike. So now we sort of have an idea of what the dungeons are. The jungles have grown down into these many craters to form... they're not isolated, technically, but they're like... I'm imagining each jungle and each crater is almost like a unique little biome. They've grown and evolved sort of independent from each other. The jungles have grown down into these many craters to form micro... Is it an ecosystem, or is it more like territories? Like each crater is sort of controlled or belongs to a different monster. I like that idea. Micro environments controlled by different territorial monsters or tribes. We could certainly do some cool tribes too. What else? I want to do birds, but that's dependent upon if the name is Featherwharf, if we really want to lean into that idea. I think it would be cool. Maybe we'll go with it. This region has the tropics' largest population of birds, whose colorful feathers inspired the naming of the destroyed city. And what else? Maybe there's like something about a tribe here that now uses these feathers. Maybe there's like, if there were survivors from when the city was destroyed, which sounds like impossible, but if there were, then maybe they live here And over the generations, these people have sort of regressed into a tribe that believes that the gods have hidden something down in these dungeons, when in actuality, like, these people don't realize it was their ancestors who created this place. That could be interesting. Biomes, that's probably a better word for it, Mark. Yeah, they've created unique biomes down in each crater. Oh, you know what we also could explore is the fact that if there were stars getting thrown down, then there's, like, weird aliens here. Oh. I mean, what a better place to have a Mind Flayer cult than in this secret scientific laboratory city. And they're trying to rebuild. They're trying to make their own version of the Ark or something like that. That could be cool. Yeah, okay. I don't want to say many. When the stars were thrust down upon the land, they brought with them various Xenos life forms that now live within the craters. Some are highly intelligent and seek to plunder these, or plunder the surviving dungeons' secrets. That could be cool. Now the question in my mind immediately is, though, like, if the Xenos were brought down when the stars fell, and that was several hundred years ago, or like 1,000 years ago or more, what's taken them so long? What have they been doing here? I find I run into that problem a lot with my D&D plots of, like, I want to work with these ancient ideas, information that's getting warped over generations of people, but then you introduce an elf, or you introduce something that can live forever, and you're like, oh man, what has it been doing this whole time? Like, just sitting there doing nothing? Ooh, what's up, Pedro? Said, maybe you feel an immense heat from a crater. Looking down, you see what appears to be lava. That is what they use to launch their ships. That's interesting. Interesting idea, Pedro. Keep in mind, though, they didn't technically launch their ships here. They launched their ships from the Heaven's Steps. And they also... But... lava at the bottom of a crater could be cool. What if it was like an oil field? What if the reason the city was here is because it was mining and refining... What do you do with oil? Do you refine oil? Mine oil? I don't know how you get it. But they got the fuel for the ships here and also built them, and then they would transport it all to the Heaven Steps. I like that. And then, like, some of these craters have, like, lakes of oil down in them. Almost like tar. That could be cool. The only other place on this jungle peninsula we've mentioned tar is on the Pocked Mountain. But I think it could work here. The city was mining rare metals and oils to use in their ship construction. And after the bombardment, this oil flooded many of the craters. But I can't believe I just spelled flooded. F-L-U-D-D-E-D. What the hell? Flooded many of the craters, creating dangerous tar pits. That's cool. That's really cool. Pedro, you got us on that idea, so thank you for that. All right, Twin Steel, get back to work, but thanks for hanging out with us while you could. Appreciate it. Extract oil and then refine it. Okay, yeah, cool. City was mining rare metals and extracting oils to use in their ship construction. Sweet. Okay. So we know what the city was doing. We know a little bit about these craters are filled with these jungles, and each one is sort of unique or has a special kind of feature to it. We know that there are aliens living in this area, Xenos aberrations, whatever you want to call them. We know that there are tar pits from the oils and things that the city was trying to collect and use. Ooh, what's this idea, Mark? Oil whales. Cetaceans? What's a that must be some sort of insect thing? What's a cetacean? Cetacean. It's like a whale? Cetacean is a marine mammal. Oh, like whales, dolphins, and porpoises. Okay. I've never heard of I don't even know how to pronounce that. Cetacean? Is that how you say it? Yeah, I've never heard that term before, but there could be some weird creatures living in the oil. I feel like we could get weirder with it, though. What would be cool for a tar pit monster? And are we going to do anything with this freaking bird idea? The idea can't just be, oh yeah, there's a lot of birds here. And that's it. There's got to be something cooler, right? Maybe they... We talked about a rock as like a spirit, but that was on the Weeping Mountains. So maybe we don't want to... But I think we'd originally... Oh no, we'd mentioned a rock with the Weeping Mountains, but I think that idea sort of got dropped. There could be a tribe of bird riders here. No, I don't want to do another tribe. Because we've already got quite a few of those. Although, I mean, you need NPCs for the party to run into. So a tribe of bird riding people could be interesting. Or we could introduce Aarakocra, and maybe the surviving scientists have been mutated, and that's where these bird folk came from. These scientists there was like a sect of them who not only were trying to help develop the Ark and these flying ships, but were secretly trying to learn how to gift people the ability to fly. And they transformed into these bird things, and maybe that's what saved them. If we want some survivors, that could be cool. Golden Saj T said, what if the area has black tar zombies, victims of basically people who drown in the tar? That could be cool. I do already have zombies not that far away from this area, just beyond the Ruptured Hive into the Retching Quagmire. I have zombies there, but do we do it here too? I don't know. I don't know if we will. The tar pit could just be like, I mean, maybe like dinosaur skeletons can come up out of the tar. There's always that trope we could do. Kenneth said, how about soups of the trapped animals fused together to possess the bones and tar as flesh? To devour. Wait, and to hope to get out one. Oh. So it's all the things that died in the tar pits were fused together, and they eat things trying to like get strong enough to escape. Yeah, maybe. Samuel coming again with our Aztec ideas. Said, Aztecs think that feathers were a sacred gift from the gods. Maybe the birds are magical or mutated or both. Or Golden Saj T said maybe they have like a flying bird-like golem made to deliver the... Oh, these things like carried... Oh, that's really interesting, Golden Saj T. That these birds were transferring things back and forth between the heaven steps and the city. Ooh, that's cool. The scientists of the destroyed city built giant metal birds to transport supplies back and forth between the city and the heavens steps. Those that survived, are those still functioning? Those still operational? Those feel like something that should be like a monster that you want to avoid, or like a scary sort of thing. Because I don't imagine there's just a bunch of birds just flying back and forth now. There's no city left. So maybe they... What could they do? They're like big stone golems or big iron golems or whatever, just hanging out in the area. They just... I don't want to just go like, oh, they attack anything on sight, right? Like, what are their motivations now? Maybe they were built to not just transport supplies, but sort of collect it. Sort of like, you know how birds will just bring a bunch of random things back to their nest sometimes, or as they're gathering up things to make their nest, they just are collecting it all. Were these birds maybe sent out to collect? What would they collect though? What would the scientists have these birds collect to bring back to the city? Because I'm thinking it could be cool if your characters could bump into these birds anywhere on the peninsula. Like if they were sent out to scavenge for... I'm like thinking in my head like maybe shipwrecks. But what sort of supplies are these birds really getting out in the jungle that would have helped these scientists build the Ark? I don't know if that works. Infinite has an idea. Said one district of the old city was not destroyed. It stands very tall with its buildings and has become a hub to many of the bird species that often fight over the rights to nest there. Oh! That's cool. Yeah, there was like one surviving tower. I like that idea. We might come back to this metal bird idea. We'll see. But I like this idea that a single tower survived the bombardment. Maybe we'll call it a signal tower. And the region's birds... I'm imagining, it's funny, I actually was thinking of doing a one-shot for Sunday on a similar idea of there's this giant, huge spire that basically like almost reaches the atmosphere, and it is a deep, or it's a signal tower that is meant to send prayers out to the edge of the universe. It's sort of like, it was built to help people communicate with the Ark, and the shrine at the very top where the prayers of infinity or whatever, it's not working. And so the one shot is the players have to go up to the very top of this tower and reconsecrate the shrine in hopes of contacting the Ark of the Gods. And they fight some monsters on the way up, and there's always the risk of falling. So sort of a similar vibe here if there's this super tall tower with secrets at the very top of it. A single signal tower survived the bombardment, and the region's birds nest. How did you describe it? They like fight over what gets to nest here? Or it's just a hub for many of the birds. It is now a popular nesting ground for the region's birds. Are there other things? Maybe like a dragon? No, we already have a dragon. What am I talking about? Other ideas. Quite a few coming in here. Let's see. Samuel said maybe some oil slimes. Slimes that are both scary and funny. They're scanny. AC 130 above. Canasoto says the tar itself acts like a siren, calling people to go in. It's interesting. How come? Like, what about it causes it to do that? Oh, they could scavenge for test subjects, Mark says. The birds. That's interesting. Or Infinite says, what if they're just surveillance and there's a hidden spot where you can see through all of the birds' eyes? Yeah, birds aren't real. It's just a government conspiracy. It actually did give... I was just thinking, what if when the gods destroyed the city, the gods changed the protocol of these birds? And it was like, okay, now your job is now to keep things out of here. If anything gets close, you go attack those things. I like that idea. Maybe we'll run with it. Scientists built giant metal birds to aid in the construction and transport of help in the transporting of materials, but following the GP, the gods overrode their command rituals, and they now how do we describe what their job is now? And they now attack, or now they keep the city ruins free of like protect. I don't like using the word like they protect the city from outsiders, because protect implies there's like, I don't know, when I hear protect it seems like a noble thing, like that's what good people do, they protect things. This is more of the gods are using them to cover up their crimes. The gods override their command rituals, and they now attack anything that tries to enter the craters. That works for now. Cool idea, Infinite. I dig that. Golden Sash T said the metal birds are still running. Wait, hold on. The metal birds are still running. Sorry, Saj T. I'm kind of having a hard time following that idea. Might need to give that another one or another pass. Kenneth asks a good question. How and why did this tower survive the bombardment? I imagine it's like on the outskirts. It was like not the main city. Because each hex, right? Each hex is like, whoops, scrolling on the wrong screen. Each hex is about 4 or so days of travel wide. So if like the majority of the city was kind of in the northern, western side of that hex, then the southeastern could have a couple ruins. Or like ones that kind of border Heaven's Steps or the Ruptured Hive. So I think it could make sense that it survived. Okay, what else? What else? I still like this idea of mutated bird folk. And the reason they're not attacked by these giant birds is because the gods, like in their hubris, didn't think anybody would survive. So they're like, we don't even need to worry about coding into our bird things. Like, don't attack everybody, including the scientists that built you. They didn't even think about that. But then also, where was I just going with that idea? The giant birds don't attack the bird folk because they're the scientists. Oh, they like can read their DNA and sort of are like, oh, it's my creator. Wait, those two ideas are... We don't need both of those. We can just go with the first one. The gods were arrogant and didn't think that there'd be survivors. But I like this idea that maybe the bird folk, the mutant bird folk, nest on this tower with all of the birds. Apologies, I gotta blow my nose. I don't know why I'm having such a runny nose lately. But I will remember to unmute myself. Unmute. There we go. So, we, if you guys remember, like a week or two ago, we took our niece to the zoo, and we have some leftover Capri Suns. So I'm gonna have a little toddler snack while we work here. All right. What have I missed so far? Arnaud F, which Arnaud, welcome. I don't know if I recognize that name, but good to see a new face in the chat. Does someone have an idea on what a cult of warlocks from a fallen arcane empire could try to revive or bring back from the abyss for a ritual? I'm blocked in my prep. Ooh, all right. We'll pause our bombarded garden prep to help out Arnaud. Okay, so the idea you need help on is what a cult of warlocks from a fallen arcane empire could try to revive or bring from the abyss for a ritual. Warlocks from a fallen arcane empire. Or a cult of warlocks. Was the empire that fell, was it like a warlocky empire? Or is it like this empire fell and this cult of warlocks is just sort of like picking at the bones of this kingdom that they weren't like in charge of at any point? Because that could kind of take me in two totally different directions. The first idea is like, oh, they're trying to bring back the king or the empress or something, but that's lame. That's like the obvious first idea. Bring back from the abyss. Let's see if he gave more context. Let's see what else is in chat. Oh, yeah, Kenneth says maybe the gods are trying to bring back their gods. Yeah, it feels like similar to the idea of they're trying to bring back the king or the empress. It's like, okay, but why? And can we make that a little more interesting? What if the warlocks, what if they're trying to, if they want to bring this empire back, what if they try to do some sort of ritual that would swap? I'm thinking of like a reality smashing ritual, or like timeline rituals where all of the people who died in the falling of this empire, their souls get brought over into the current universe where there's like a new empire for them to rule, and all of the people who are in this timeline get brought over into the apocalyptic timeline. But that might be a little too clunky to try and even describe. What else could they be trying to do? Oh, Pedro has an interesting kind of idea here. They're bringing back their fallen empire because 3/4 of it fell to the abyss. What if, just building off that idea, and maybe this is what you're saying, Pedro, but how I'm thinking of it is, what if it literally fell into the abyss? Not like this empire fell, like in terms of of civilization, like it just deteriorated and was forgotten, but like literally this empire fell into the abyss. Sort of like, I guess that's kind of like Baldur's Gate, where it's the city of Baldur's Gate. I've never played it's not Baldur's Gate the campaign. Descent into Avernus. Isn't it Baldur's Gate that falls down into Avernus in that? No, it's like some random town, I think. But that could be a cool idea, or not. The city itself, the capital city of the empire, fell into the abyss, and now this cult is trying to lift it back up. And the problem is, the city has now been warped by the abyss, and if they're to bring the city back, like, they're going to bring all of the horrors that now live in the city and are kind of clinging onto it. It's like when you pull it up, there's a bunch of monsters hanging onto it that then spill out into the world. That's a cool idea. Pedro, very cool idea. Very cool idea. Well, if you're still here, Arnaud, I hope you dig that idea, because I think it's pretty sick. Let's get back on track. The Bombarded Garden. I saw a few ideas I kind of skipped over real fast about the birds. Pedro also said maybe the metal birds don't attack the mutant birds because they were programmed to see all birds or bird-like creatures as friendly. Maybe. Okay, yeah. I do like this idea that there are some mutant bird folk. A secret sect of these scientists were developing a serum to gift mortals, or to give, wait, how do you spell serum? We'll just go tonic for now. To give mortals the gift of flight. I'm imagining they were developing it, and then the Great Pilgrimage starts happening. They're like, oh shit, we're not done. This isn't finished. We'll just take it ourselves and try and save ourselves. And they do the, Spider-Man lizard villain story. They inject themselves with a serum that is unstable, and they mutate into bird folk, which allowed them to escape the Great Pilgrimage, or escape the bombardment. They flew up out of its destructive range, but then they were devolved down into these bird folk people. That's kind of a lot of information to try and condense. A secret sect of scientists were developing a tonic to give mortals a gift of flight, but used it on themselves to escape the bombardment. It worked, but mutated them into bird folk. Into primitive bird folk. That's a cool idea. How many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we could probably do 2 more. I bet we could get this to a D10 list pretty easily. This is hex number 1. Oh, perfect. It is hex number. Okay, nice. What's up, Christian? Yo, good to see you. Also, shout out to Christian, Mark, Samael, and that might be, is that different? Yeah, those are the members we've got in chat. So shout out to y'all. You got your little Church of Doom icons, which I need to update. Gosh, I am so busy, guys. It's like, and as also with what I do as my job, there's a lot of different things that have to get done each day. Like, it's like, gotta get into a filming mindset. Now I gotta get into a streaming mindset. Now I gotta get into a writing mindset. Now I gotta get into a DMing mindset. It's hard to balance and have energy for all those different hats. So sometimes things just slip away. But anyways, Christian, good to have you here in the chat. We are just about done with brainstorming the Bombarded Garden. We're pretty close. Golden Saj T said maybe some of them think they can become an angel by absorbing harpy blood and holy water at once. That's a cool idea. Arnaud is still here. Sweet. He said, thanks a lot, guys. I thought like the warlocks were the ruling part of the empire. The idea of the city that literally fell into the abyss is really sick. Yeah, that's all Pedro. That is all Pedro. It's very cool. It reminds me, I know in Critical Role Campaign 2, there was kind of a similar idea. I think it was one of the like flying cities got lost in the like astral realm or something. And it was like a big living, screaming psychic city or something at this point. So kind of a similar vibe, but you could totally take it in your own unique direction. Yeah, cool stuff. Okay. Anyways, let's do 2 more ideas for the Bombarded Garden. I feel like we could lean into the alien idea a bit more with this. The Xenos bacteria and everything that came down with these stars has mutated the plants here in some way. And, but I don't want to just do more man-eating plants. What could be really interesting about alien plant life? What's that show? Survive. It's on Netflix. It used to be on like HBO or something. Survivors. It's like a cool animated show about these stranded, like, not astronauts, but they're like space explorers or something. And the whole show is basically about these people learning like how crazy the ecosystem is on this planet and how like interconnected everything is. Why can I not remember what it's called? Someone probably will know what I'm talking about. You can drop it in chat. Okay. We've got quite a bit covered. We know what the dungeons are, although they could probably use a little bit more description. We know that there are some bird folk people living in this area. We know there are these giant bird monster things. There's really rare metals and oils here, and there's like tar pits down in these crater bowls. What would be cool for the plant life? The plant life has gained a psychic, like a sentience. It's all been awoken. So you can speak to all of the plants. Kind of cool. Or I'm having a hard time thinking of Xenos plants without just being like, they look really weird. Oh, they look really weird. But, or like, I guess we could just give them like some sort of unique harvestable thing. Okay, Chris, yeah, see, you know the show. Was it just, no, it wasn't Lost in Space. What the fuck was it called? This is killing me. I can't remember. I need to let it go. Hey, what's up, Finn Riley? Another new name in the chat I don't really recognize. Said maybe the city dwellers survived the bombardment and live in the craters planning their revenge against the bird folk. Maybe. If there are survivors, I think we're going to put them over in Heaven's Steps, Hex 2. Because the people of the craters, like, if you were in the city, well, I mean, there could certainly be some people down in the like dungeons, right? Those lead-lined secret vaults and laboratories and things. So, but how about this? How about this, Finn? You've got me thinking of the fact that there could be survivors. Whoa. Any of the survivors, or any who survived the bombardment, quickly became enslaved to the Xenos creatures who live here. I don't know. My thought is, yes, there probably were some scientists and just some random people of this city who, as the Great Pilgrimage was happening, they fled down into these bunkers or these vaults, all kind of Fallout style. But it's been so long that the Xenos creatures, the Mind Flayers, the Beholder, the Aboleth, and Aboleth I think actually would be really cool with all the tar pits, some sort of big, slimy, disgusting tar aboleth. It has enslaved all of them. So your party could meet some people here, and they think they're meeting like a tribe of people, but in actuality, they're these mind slaves to a beholder or something. I think that would be cool. Any who survived the bombardment quickly became enslaved to the Xenos creatures who claimed the city ruins for themselves. Sure. Infinite's got an idea for maybe the remains of the ships that once used to wharf here. But remember, also, the ships wharfed at Hex 2. Hex 1 was more of the, like, research city, and maybe where they were, like, mining a lot of the oils and stuff. But Hex 2 is where I think the ships... Now, if I have to kind of commit to an idea, I think that the city was more about the science and the research and the development, whereas Hex 2 was where they actually built them and launched them. So if there were going to be ships, that probably would be there. But if your players are exploring Hex number 1, they could find down in one of these dungeons like the blueprint schematics for one of these ships, and it would lead them to Hex 2. That could be interesting. Pedro says maybe there's a crater full of Xenos plants that gives the bombardment garden the ability to think. You can ask it questions about the area. Yeah, I know that was where I was sort of going with the plants are awoken. But what do these plants talk about? And also, my hesitation is, does that make it too easy for these plants to like spoil the big reveals? That would be the one thing I would worry about. Sauce T's saying maybe there's some plants that can randomly cast spells, or they move in that area. Wait. The area is non-stop danger to hit. Yeah, so just moving through here is super dangerous because of the spells coming off the plants. Yeah, kind of an easy idea, though. It lacks specificity that I like to have. Like, these plants can cast spells. Like, okay, but what kind of spells and why can they do that? If we've introduced this idea that the Xenos creatures that live here have sort of enslaved the survivors of the city, then maybe the plant life has like some sort of mind control ability. That could be cool. Or maybe the plants don't need to be anything crazy. Maybe they do just look weird, and I don't need to waste one of our descriptions here about it. Anything we're missing? I do feel like... Well... Is there enough information here to go off of for the dungeons? Because there's like these scientific laboratories. But what's confusing me in my head is if the city was built in secret anyways to be this research city, then why were there deep underground dungeons? It was already a secret. It's like a secret on top of a secret. Why? What was so... Maybe the people here didn't know what they were building? Like, they thought they were researching flying ships, like airships. But in actuality, beneath the city, that's where, like, the Ark development was happening. And also, just for my own... Just to make it clear, this is not the only place where the Ark was being developed. In my head canon, like, this sort of location, this secret research base, which was helping in the construction of the Ark, there were countless of those all across the world that were all working in secret with the gods to build the Ark. So it's not like this was the one place where, oh my god, the very idea of the Ark came into being. No. It's just like each location sort of had a specialized thing they were developing or researching to help build the Ark. And with all of that information together, that's what helped them build it. Golden Sausage said maybe plants cast spells like ghost hands and spells that normal mages should know. They show that many people died here, and the plants gained this by... Oh! The plants sort of are like echoes of the people who died here? That's interesting. I do like that idea. There's like a consciousness here. Something about like such a sudden violent death from all these people means there's lots of... Are there ghosts here? I mean, that would take this whole region in a totally different direction. I don't think I want there to be ghosts. I don't want this to turn into like a haunted area. Maybe there's some... you said that the plants could kind of cast like ghost hand spells or something. That has me thinking maybe there's something about the way the plants grow. Like in the movie Annihilation with, I think it was Natalie Portman, like plants grow really weird there. And could there be something about the way that the plants grow that sort of gives a hint as to what happened here? I don't really know what that would be, though. Or maybe the plants here are all... like resistant to fire? Nah, that's... I don't know. The ghost idea is cool, Golden Sajti, but it just seems a little out there for a vibe, for everything else we've established so far. That on top of these mutant bird folk and the secret science laboratory and the giant craters and the tar. Oh, by the way, there's also ghosts. So I don't know if that quite is going to make the cut. Some sort of nanomachine attached to the plants, as it was the only life form they could help and heal after the destruction? Yeah, maybe. We haven't hit the idea yet. I'm also thinking, like, Mark had said previously at this very start of the stream, like, you could do sort of a crystal, like when Pompeii happened and all the people got encased in ash, you could do that with crystal. That does has me thinking when the meteors hit, it kind of crystallized the ground. And that could introduce some cool magical shenanigans. Or maybe we talked about like there were these rare metals and this oil that was being refined here. Maybe these plants grow out of that. I'm imagining a plant that like its roots go down into the oil and it has like almost a nozzle type flower that it can spray this sticky tar-like substance. That could be interesting. Oh, Kenneth, that's a cool idea. Ghost engines. Ghost engines. The machine devours souls and ghosts supercharge themselves. Some sort of ghost devouring machine thing. Oh, that's kind of cool. Hey, Samuel. Have a good night's rest. GG, brothers. Amen. Amen right back at you. Thanks for hanging out with us for a bit. Why don't we... I'm kind of feeling stuck, so why don't we move on? We've got 9 out of the 10 ideas to fill this one out. I feel like that's plenty for me to refine later, so we can move on to the Heaven's Steps. Just keep this brainstorming train rolling, yeah? I called it the Broken Steps, but we changed that. There's our description. Okay. So the Heaven Steps are a stunted mountain range of star-battered ziggurat temples built by the forgotten gods of Featherwharf. They're actually the tops of an underground docking port for heavenly vessels used during the Great Pilgrimage. Cool. That is the basis of what we're building off of here for our brainstorming list. And we've been talking about Heaven Steps. Like, it comes up every single stream as we've been doing the brainstorm. So it shouldn't be anything crazy new here to be thinking about. Okay, ideas for the Heaven Steps. So the ziggurats rise up. The idea would be, I guess, the ships would land on the top and they would lower them down into the docking bay. Okay, so the tops of these temples are actually landing pads for the heavenly vessels built here. Would be lowered down into subterranean holding bays. I think that works. Ideas that are popping into my head just as we're starting to get into this. There's some sort of sentinel. There's a security system here, right? There's something patrolling the area. We've already talked about the giant birds. So maybe that idea also exists here, but I'm imagining like when you go inside the facility, what is there? What's there to attack you? For some reason, this area was spared the god's wrath, which I think it's easy. I think a totally valid justification is like the gods couldn't destroy everything. You guys, I've already mentioned, like in this setting, the gods are not omnipotent, omniscient, all powerful. Like the sun of this universe is dying and the gods can't stop it. They're not that powerful. They're super powerful, but not that powerful. So they had to pick and choose what were they going to destroy and what were they going to spare. And when it came to destroy this docking bay where some ships are being held, or the place where all of the knowledge needed to make more of them is at, they chose the city. I think that's totally reasonable. I don't think we need to nitpick like, well, why did the Heaven Steps not be destroyed? And honestly, when I run this, probably a few of them will have been destroyed. There will be a couple that got hit, but not enough to like totally level them. But anyways, other ideas for what could be going on here. I'd imagine we've got Xenos activity. They're trying to build their own spaceship, or even like one of them has like a fully functioning void vessel here, and they're like abducting people from all over the place and bringing them back here to perform experiments on them. That's cool. There's like a bunch of like feral Xenos over in the Bombarded Gardens, but here is where like the main one lives. Like the ones that are over in the Bombarded Gardens in the ruins, they're like picking at the scraps. Whereas this one, the Mind Flayer or whoever, is like, I'm the one who's actually in charge here. I'm the one who's smart enough to sort of put all these pieces together. So we could think about who that BBG is. Probably need to think about, like, when the players get here, how many of these ships are operational, if any? How many are ruined? Probably, when I think of ziggurats and D&D, I often think of Yuan-Ti, the snake folk, so we could have that here. That's interesting, because we actually haven't had Yuan-Ti anywhere. They haven't come up once in our brainstorming. That's very interesting. Golden Sajti said, maybe Heaven Steps have illusions that make you think they get higher and higher, but the truth is... Wait. Trying to make... Okay, so you're saying there's an illusion that makes it... Oh, interesting, Golden. You're saying as you're walking up the steps, there's an illusion that makes it seem like they just keep going, which is a fun idea for the Heaven Steps, these steps to the heavens, these infinite steps. That's very cool. The only way to actually get in is to stop walking up them. I like that idea. Illusions are placed on these temples to make their stairs seem infinite. There's got, like, how do you reach the top? Sajti said, like, you stand still. Maybe there's like a certain, like almost like an ID badge Like if you don't have the confidentials, is that a term to describe like the, flashing the badge? Here are my confidentials to be here. That sounds right. If you don't have that, then yeah, the steps are just infinite for you. But as soon as you have this thing, then you can reach the top. Then it sort of turns it into a fetch quest. Like you can't go here until you go get this other thing. Maybe. But this idea that they're infinite is very cool. Okay, Finn. Let's see what Finn said. Some ruins and smaller vessels still remain and are controlled by cults and survivors. I'm thinking so. I think we want Mind Flayer has a cult here and is using the last surviving operational, like the last ship that is still operational, or skyworthy vessel to abduct mortals to experiment on. I like this idea that maybe this Xenos is not confined here. It's not like I need to build a ship to escape this place, or I need to build a ship to go off world or whatever. It's like, no, like this is where I live. This is perfect. I'm an alien. I don't want people to know where I'm at, so I'm going to go to the most frontier place I can possibly find and use the resources here to perform my experiments in secret in this jungle. And so they're flying across the Dead Sea to whatever continent they go to and abducting some people and bringing them back here. Oh, that could sort of lean into a random encounter where your party crosses paths in the jungle with like some like just like a medieval farmer or like a bard, like someone who clearly doesn't look like they belong here. And they're completely insane. They've gone crazy from the experiments that have been performed on them, and your party's just left to wonder, like, how did this person get here? This is so weird, and they can't give us the information we need, so maybe they can do something to try and peer into their mind with some magics and get some answers there, and they get, like, glimpses of their abduction. That would be cool. I like that idea. Yeah, Finn, great idea. Infinite says the gods attacked it in a different way. They bombarded the city and gassed and burned the wharf, leaving the structure... Oh. Interesting. What if they... Okay, just sort of taking it in another... Or like trying to build on top of that. What if they didn't just like firebomb it? They didn't just gas it. They like put a anti-magic gas here that made it so that you can't fly. Although then that means that... How does the Xenos use their vessel? But this idea that when you go here, you lose the ability to fly is cool. I don't know if I'd want to go so far as to have it be anti-magic. That just sort of destroys the fun for a lot of characters if everywhere you go here is anti-magic gas. But that is a fun idea, Infinite, that the gods did destroy this place, or they at least sabotaged it. But they didn't just outright destroy it. Maybe it's like infested with rust monsters or something equivalent to that. Things that would eat the ships, eat the ships and destroy them. That could be cool. Or Infinite said there's some sort of train station or a rail system kind of thing that used to connect all the different docks and terminals and can be used to fast travel between... Yeah? We'd sort of floated the idea around that the birds, the big metal birds, were what were used to like transport things back and forth. Do we need an underground train system? Or is that... Now, when I'm thinking about it, it's like, okay, if these people were mining oil, probably would make more sense to just do some underground rails. So it's like you're not needing to mine everything, bring it up to the surface, and then deliver it over the jungle. But do I like the idea of a flying bird crane things more than I like an underground train? Yes, I do. So I might stick with the birds. Yeah, Pedro, yeah. Papers, please, to enter the temple. So, Golden, you're saying it's more of like when you step onto these, or when you start going up these stairs, the illusion's best with your mind, and you think you're just walking infinitely, when in actuality you're just standing still. Okay, I like that. Risk exhaustion while making 0 progress up the steps. So yeah, you could literally just walk yourself to death. And the danger is, it's not like if you're getting halfway up and you're like 3 levels of exhaustion in and you're like, all right, we better turn around. It's not like you just turn around and you're like, oh, wouldn't you know it? I didn't make any progress. I think it's even cooler if you turn around and you're like, oh my God. Like look how high I've climbed, and it seems like the stairs are infinite going down. It's like, you can't just decide to just stop at any point. Once you commit to this illusion, or once you commit to climbing the steps, you have to beat this illusion or you're toast. That's a very cool idea, Sajti. Great contribution. Oh, Golden also with another cool idea. What if the gods made this zone have double the gravity? That'd make the ships useless. That's pretty cool. That is really interesting. It does... I know I was the one who started to pitch these ideas. Now I'm just thinking, okay, if we want to have a Xenos here who has a ship, then we basically can't do anything that would make it so the Xenos can't use their ship. Or this alien has learned how to control this gravity and can kind of turn it on and off whenever they want so that they can use their ship when they want to. Or it's one of the only ships strong enough to escape the gravity. I think it is a cool idea. And it does lean into this theme of exhaustion, if we wanted to keep exploring that not only is it exhausting to try and walk up these infinite steps, but just being in this area is taxing on the body. And you could be exhausted just moving through the jungle, not even going up the steps. I think that's cool. Gods cursed this land with increased gravity to make it impossible for future ships to ever escape this place. Gravity is generated from a secret temple. I'm imagining the gods, like almost like when they were throwing down all the stars, they threw down this. If you guys know Warhammer 40k, and this isn't unique to 40k, I suppose, but like there's this unit called Terminators. They're these big, huge, like dreadnought type warriors. Like they're just like these massive suits, and they have teleport homers. So when they drop this signal beacon, it can teleport them down to where it appeared. And I just always liked the visual of, you know what? Why am I describing the teleport homer? The drop pod is a better description. These big teardrop shaped shuttles that fly down, and when they hit the ground, they pop open and dump a bunch of troops out. What if the gods threw this miniature temple down that it just like landed into the side of a mountain, or it crashed down into one of the temples, and when it opened up, it started generating this gravity. So the party, if they can find this miniature portable gravity temple, which is really just like a big piece of technology, they can shut it down and then everything will work fine. But this begs the question, why hasn't the Xenos found that? Why hasn't the Xenos taken care of it? It seems like a thing that if they've been there this long, and if they're a high-level threat, which most aberrations in D&D are, they should have been able to figure this out. But I really like this idea. We can always cut the fact that there's a Xenos here, but they both are so cool. Mr. Edom Surajam? Is that how you say that? Well, welcome. Ships cast reverse gravity on itself. They're being pulled down, but I guess that's interesting. They do just... Yeah, they reverse gravity, so now they have double gravity pushing them up. There's a way to get your ship to launch. That's funny. Let's go with the idea that... that the gods hid in the region. Yeah, okay. If I had to pick, is there a Xenos here using the ships, or is there an artificial gravity generator temple? I kind of like the artificial gravity temple. I think that's cooler. Hey, Infinite, going to the gym. Have a good lift sesh. Thanks for hanging and brainstorming with us. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Golden Sajt, he said, can be... Should I have movements be arranged? Not even magic spells here. Oh, wow. Even spells and abilities are affected by the gravity. I like that. You go to shoot your bow and the arrow just hits the ground immediately. Or you go to throw a dagger and it just hits. That's a fun idea. I like that. Kenneth said maybe this temple only recently surfaced. Maybe, but I find that odd. Like, why did it activate now? When the gods threw it down there, why didn't it work then? And yeah, I don't know. So, like, to me, it makes a little more sense that this temple is here and it's always been working, and a Xenos has just now found their way here. They don't even have to be from the Bombarded Garden. There's just a mind flayer who has learned of this lost skyship port, and they've come here to investigate it, only to discover, there's this dang gravity temple thing, and I need to find it, and I need to shut it off. That's way more interesting, actually. I think we'll probably go in that direction. Golden says maybe the Xenos is not physically strong enough to reach this gravity temple. Oh, that's interesting. So they've been sending their minions in to try and take care of it. That's fun. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, Mind Flayer. Mind Flayer recently discovered this temple and is trying to repair one of the last skyworthing vessels to abduct mortals with. Or, I don't even know if I'll explain why they want to do it yet, but one of the last surviving skyworthing vessels, not physically strong enough to find and deactivate the gravity temple, which is slowing their progress. Cool. Okay. Oh, Christian, let's see what Christian's got. As someone currently playing No Man's Sky, ship fuel is hard to come by. True. Pedro V said maybe the drop pod is a section of the temple that builds the ship's anti-grav stuff that got damaged in the bombardment, causing the warped gravity. Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah. So instead of it being a thing that the gods threw down there, which is a little silly, I agree. There was one of the temples here. It was designed to kind of going off of Mr. Edom Sorajam's idea. There was a temple specifically built to reverse gravity for almost maybe not the whole region at once, but it could target specific areas with anti-gravity. And that's what allowed them to launch these ships really quickly and transport materials up to the Ark where it was being constructed. It's very like Death Star-esque here. That's cool. That's really, really cool. Okay. Temples have reverse gravity generators. I don't know what to call it. That allowed the ships to be launched and supplies delivered to the Ark. But these were all damaged during the Great Pilgrimage and the bombardment of Feather Wharf. I like that more. So the Xenos is trying to figure out a way to repair this artificial gravity. Or maybe they don't even care. Maybe they are just using one of these ships to just fly around the world and abduct people and do their experiments, and if they ever did want to leave, they would maybe want to work on this. Oh, we could also... What about this idea? Kind of a different one. Maybe gravity is unstable here, and sometimes is stronger, and sometimes lighter. The variety is very interesting to me. So maybe your party is at the risk of suffering from exhaustion, trudging through this 4 times gravity, and then other times they're like at risk of floating up into the clouds where they're gonna just get plucked out of the air by a dragon or something. So yeah, and I like that the gods weren't even the ones necessarily behind this, because I did like that idea that they were arrogant, that they could just destroy the city of Feather Wharf, which that name I'm gonna change. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't sound like a science-y sort of base, so probably change that. But they were so confident that all they needed to do was destroy the city, and this other place wouldn't really be a problem. Okay, the tops of these temples were actually landing pads for the heavenly vessels built here. Illusions are placed on the temples to make their stairs seem infinite. If you don't overcome the illusion, you'll suffer or you'll die from exhaustion. A mind flayer has discovered the temple, is trying to repair one of the ships, but they're having problems with this anti-gravity stuff. The temples have reverse gravity generators that are unstable, causing the whole region to have weird gravity stuff. What else could we do? We probably need to have some sort of description about like how many of these temples are there. Temples, but how many of these golden skyports are there? And like, is each one, what makes each one different? Or are they all just like the same, right? Kenneth asked if they wanted to leave, where would they go? I'm imagining you're talking about the Mind Flayer. I don't know. I think it's kind of like I mentioned a minute ago. I think they want to be here. They don't want to leave. They're using this place as their secret lair. And eventually, whenever they do decide that they want to leave, they'll need to fix these gravity generator things. But for now, they're content just hanging out here, experimenting on people, plundering the jungle for its ancient technology and secrets and stuff like that. So I don't think we need to worry about where they would go. We haven't done anything for the other types of monsters that could be here. So we probably need something for monsters and a general layout of these temples. Are they like in a big ring with something at the center? Are they, like, I'm trying to imagine if you were to look down at them from above, would it form some sort of interesting glyph or some sort of symbol? I don't imagine that they are all super spread out. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I'd imagine they're sort of like clustered somewhere in this hex, and then the rest of it is just wilderness. And we really need something cool for the rest of the wilderness here. Heaven steps. There's weird gravity here. If there's weird gravity, what types of creatures could even really survive here? Probably not many. Except like really, really heavy things. Like an iron golem. Would it necessarily even care if the gravity doubled? Would that even affect it? I don't know if it would. Ooh, cool. A couple messages from Mr. Enum Sorajam. Said, based on changing gravity, would be interesting combat if it turned 20. Oh my god, turn 20? Bring that down. Turn 20, that's forever. But let's keep going with your idea. The gravity might change, becoming stronger, having your movement, having your range, or lighter, doing the reverse. Exactly. That's totally what I would have happen. And I would honestly, my combats, I either am able to run a combat very tightly in like 3 to 4 rounds, or they drag out. But typically what I like to do to help make combats feel tighter is like every round, at the end of every round, you roll a dice, and there's a chance that the gravity might switch. So it can happen a lot in the combat, which I think you kind of need. Like, is it believable that it would be flip-flopping that much in the world all the time? No. But when you're playing a game and you're relying on these mechanics to bring the world to life, like, you need those mechanics to happen at least sometimes. And because it's a game where you're only at the table for 3 to 4 hours at a time, and this might be the only combat where this mechanic could even come up, it's like you want it to happen. So if you wait too long to bring in this weird gravity reversal mechanic, the players might just never encounter it. You know what I mean? Initiative 20. Okay, that makes way more sense, Mr. Adam Sorgen. I was like, oh my god, I cannot imagine a combat that takes 20 rounds or 20 turns. That'd be, well, 20 turns, I guess, is just like a 4-player group that plays 5 rounds. But even that, it's kind of a long combat. Kenneth saying maybe something aquatic? Or something without form? Oh, for things that wouldn't necessarily be affected by the gravity? Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, things that hover could be cool. We could introduce some drones, like security sentinels, little floating metal cherubs and angels and things that were protecting this place, and they're still active. Oh yeah, we should definitely do something like that. The areas surrounding the temples are patrolled by levitating, I don't know what I want them to be, but we'll call it like lesser angels, which in my setting, angels are constructs. They're basically automatons that have had a soul or many souls placed within them. And like souls are like one of the rarest, most powerful things in all the cosmos, which is why demons want to possess people. So an angel could be something that has tens of thousands of souls placed within it, and that's like what makes it have the stat line of a diva. Or it could be one little teeny tiny floating skull, very 40k inspired there, of like a servo skull, but one little skull that has one heretic soul placed within it, and it's like a CR1 enemy, but it is technically an angel. So what types of things would patrol this area? What types of angels could they be? This area surrounding the temples are patrolled by lesser angels who attack anything attempting to trespass. Is that only one S at the beginning? Trespass into this holy land. That's kind of a fun way to describe it. Golden Sage Tea and Christian both tossing out ideas like slimes or some sort of oozes could be here. What's a tardigrade, Kenneth? I haven't heard of that. Look that up real quick. Tardigrade. Oh, they're like the and I'll show you guys what Kenneth's talking about. There's another word for these. They're the water bears. That's what it is. Yeah. I do think oozes is a good one to have here. Roped Go, what's up? Good to see another member dropping into the chat too. I think you might have gotten your membership gifted by Mark last time too. But you could roll a recharge, like a breath weapon, on the environmental turn. Exactly. That's how, I would have my players roll a d6, and on a 1, the gravity reverses. Because it's kind of the thing you don't want to have happen. Because if you're floating up in the air, and then you roll a 1, you're going to fall. And if you're, I guess, the lighter gravity is sort of it's not ideal, but it's not bad. But I would have 1 be the result. You roll the 1, everything's going to flip. And things kind of go crazy for you. Okay, Golden has a fun idea that the Xenos uses the slimes to clean things, eating metal scraps or dust and things like that. Yeah, maybe. Pedro says you've got iron golems to help transport heavy supplies. We did have that idea for the birds. The big metal birds that were built over at Feather Wharf that fly and carry things like big cranes. They literally just use their talons to move things back and forth like giant cranes. So They certainly could be in this area, but I feel like we could do something cooler for little sentinel drones. But I just don't know what. Maybe I'll just do floating heretic skulls. That's an easy one. I use that quite a bit in my campaigns. What does the Inquisition do with a heretic? They just transmute them or perform experiments on them to turn them into an instrument of the church. Could we do some ooze stuff here? Maybe, yeah. Let's say oozes were commonly used to clean and oil the ships here. Something about that doesn't. These people use these oozes to. I don't know why. Is it like too gimmicky? Is it kind of not slapstick comedy? That's not what this is. But it's like. It kind of just sounds like a joke, doesn't it? Like, oh yeah, they were using oozes to lubricate their machinery here. Like, why did it need to be an ooze? Couldn't they just do oil? I don't know. It feels like it could be taken a little too ha ha he he sort of. We probably could have. You know what? Here's an idea we could throw in here though. As the great pilgrimage commenced, many tried to flee this place aboard heavenly vessels that came crashing back down when the city was bombarded and the gravity generators were destabilized. The wrecks of these ships litter the peninsula, or litter the area and much of the peninsula. So this was like an idea Mark had sort of shared earlier in the stream. Mark, if you're still here with us, thanks for the idea of people, when the Great Pilgrimage was happening, they're like, oh my god, we have to get out of here. They're going to leave us. So they basically swarm the heaven steps. They commandeer a bunch of ships, and all these people try and fly up to escape. But then the stars start falling, knocking ships out of the sky. The gravity generator gets, damaged. All the temples start warping gravity, and these ships just start falling all over the place. And so a bunch of them, of course, would fall down into this hex. But some might have gotten high enough that you're having ships fall all the way down in like hex 7 or 9, like way south of the peninsula. They just came careening out of the sky. I like this idea that your players can have random encounters with these shipwrecks anywhere. What the hell was that? Oh, what was that sound? You guys probably didn't hear it, but I just heard the weirdest sound. Like an airship flying by outside. Okay. Okay. Anyways, let's see. 1, 2. Oh, what hex is this? This is hex 2. 2. 2. Okay, we need just a couple more ideas for what's here. We still haven't done anything about the exact layout of the temples and how many there are. And what the surrounding jungle is like. Do we do snake folk here? Or no? And we already had this idea for a mind flayer. So maybe if we're either going to do Yonti or we're either going to do a mind flayer. And I'm a little more interested in the mind flayer, to be honest. Yeah, I like the mind flayer more. Okay. Dang. Can't think of any more cool ideas. I mean, we've only been doing this an hour and a half. Dang, we made pretty good time then today. Usually it takes us almost exactly 2 hours to get through our 2 hexes. Dinosaur people? Did we do dinosaur people? I mean, we could just do some cool dinosaurs here. Ooh! Well, I feel like there was a place we already had talked about having floating islands. This could be a cool place to do that. I think it was the Weeping Mountain. We said like sections of the mountain kind of got ripped out and were floating around it. But I'm kind of fine taking that idea and putting it here, where there are some floating mountains that have like gravity generators inside them. But some of these they're like, I have two ways we could take this idea. One is, yep, there are a couple floating islands that have these reverse gravity generators on them that just keep them floating in the air, and they just stay there indefinitely. Or there are ones that are just, every once in a while they'll just fall down and just crush a bunch of stuff underneath them, and then they'll lift back up and they'll float around to somewhere else, and then they'll fall and crush what's beneath them. Both are cool, but I think I like the ones just floating in the air a bit more, because if things are just constantly falling and crushing and falling and crushing, that just leaves a lot of questions. Like, well, have they, like... I feel like it could make the environment a little too similar to the Bombarded Garden, where you've got a bunch of sections of this jungle that have been crushed down into these bowls where these rocks have fallen. So I'm just going to go with many small islands float above this this region, held in place by gravity generating shrines that... But why are they why are some generators damaged and some aren't? Maybe they do have to be falling and stuff all the time. I am now imagining, like, when gravity alters in this jungle, like, it's not just like it's just the characters that are like, whoa, getting picked up. Like, anything loose, logs, rocks, water, tree, like, everything just starts to, like, lift up and then crush back down. That's extremely disruptive to an ecosystem. So what if there were a lot of, like, subterranean creatures here that didn't have to worry so much about things getting lifted up and thrown back down? Maybe we go in that direction. Yeah, Kenneth, that's a good point too. The jungles, like, root themselves down really tightly so that they can't get lifted. I like that. Christian making a good point. Mind flayers are neat because they bring their own magics. I agree. Yeah, okay. Let's go with because of the ever-changing gravity, the plants here grow deep roots, and the fauna here is almost exclusively burrowing and lives subterranean lives. So you've got giant naked mole rats. What burrowing things are in the jungle? I'm sure there's a million. I'm trying to think of some. You could do your bullets, the land sharks, although I don't know if that makes sense for a jungle. Lots of big burrowing insects, although we already have the insect vibe going on in the ruptured hive. But you can, in a jungle, of course, you're going to have giant bugs everywhere. It's not like they can only exist at the ruptured hive. Christian says, what if the warping magics of the aberrations is what's causing the generators to go offline? They are the cause of their own misfortune? Yeah, I could see it being that. Or, like, they're experimenting with it. They're trying to, like, learn how to use this technology. So it's basically like a mind flare at the switch, just on, off, on, off, on, off. And outside of the temple, things are just going crazy. And it would be fun because then the players, when they eventually encounter this mind flare and sort of learn this secret, they're like, that was you? You were the one who almost got us killed with the gravity stuff? Like, that could be cool. Purple worms. Ooh, yeah, could do some purple worm stuff here. Mr. Edom Sorajam said, maybe during the fall, some ships got embedded in the soil, and as that massive temple generator sends out pulses, it occasionally turns on their anti-grav generators, creating the floating islands. Seems like you guys like this floating island idea. Those, or we could say, floating islands are common here. From sections of Earth lifted up by gravity generators stuck in... God, it is so hard to describe this. I don't know why. There are floating islands formed from gravity generators that are... How do you describe, like, they're just stuck in levitation mode in a cool way? Also, I'm just thinking in my head, okay, if I'm a player and I go into this region and it's like, ooh, there's floating islands, there needs to be something on them that is, like, interesting to explore, right? Like, if I go up to this island, it's like, it's just a floating ball of rock. It's like, well, I don't even care then. So what if the ground, like just the normal forest floor, it is so constantly being broken up and moved around and shifted, and the gravity is so unstable here, it's like never fully one way or the other. It's sometimes it's extremely heavy, sometimes it's extremely light, but most of the time it's just in some sort of like flux state. And so navigating the jungle is like you're literally hopping or walking along like floating soil, like loose big clumps of dirt. So instead of just having a few big giant floating islands, you're walking across how do you describe this? I'm sure you guys get what I'm saying, but it's sort of a hard thing to put to words. But it's like the ground almost moves like an ocean because the soil and everything is so loose and weird with gravity. And then you could have fun. Then the floating rocks and that sort of environment becomes something the characters are always interacting with. Any battle, any encounter they have here has rocks that are shifting under their feet or moving them apart from each other, or things are falling down on them or lifting up. That's really cool. I like that. The unstable gravity here has caused the Earth to become extremely loose and levitate. I do not know how I'm going to describe this, but I'm just going to get the idea down. The unstable gravity here causes the Earth to become extremely loose and levitate, requiring characters to navigate floating islands, bridges, and I don't know, other dangerous terrain that is constantly shifting. Yeah, cool. Pedro said maybe some crashed ships with malfunctioned engines. Yeah, that could also... I mean, all of these ideas can be justifications for why gravity is so in flux here all the time. I love all the ideas. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, hell yeah. And that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another D8 list. So many of these are D8s, but that's okay. There's a little bit of a variety. At some point, I'll cut one down to a D6 or something. But we did it. We did it. We have brainstormed all of the hexes for the Retched Tropics. Hell yeah, guys. So now, what today's the 14th, so we've got we're like barely halfway through the month. I've got the rest of the month to polish this all up and put it into a nice finished zine to publish for you all. So if you aren't a member of the Patreon, if you aren't a member here on the YouTube channel, consider doing that, because you'll get this finished zine on Patreon like for $3. So that's a hell of a deal if you ask me. And you, at the $3 tier, which is like the lowest tier, you can scroll back and download anything that I have posted on Patreon. So that is a great way to help me and support me, and to just keep... meaning we can do more of this stuff next month, because now I'm thinking we're gonna not do. We've done so many streams. I think this is like episode 7 of brainstorming the Retched Tropics on stream. I want to do some different things now. I think a character workshop could be cool. Or, I don't know, I haven't really had time to really think about what these different streams will be. But I think on Friday... Oh, hell yeah, Christian, you got your Traveler zine? Nice, yeah. Christian is it, Christian being Christian, one of my top patrons. And at those top tiers, I make a physical copy and sign it and ship it off to you guys. So I'm glad you dig it and you've got that for your collection. Anyways, yeah, so this coming Friday, we're going to do something different for stream. Also, apologies that there wasn't a stream last Friday. I realized my therapy schedule has changed, and it's now every other Friday at 11 a.m. So, like, right in the middle of when we would be streaming. So, like, well, I can't start the stream, and it's so late in the day. By the time I'm done, I don't want to start one up then. So we're kind of on a stream schedule where it's Monday, Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is fine. Having a Friday off every other week isn't the worst thing in the world for me. But, anyways, I wanted to brainstorm. Hold on. I'll just duplicate this real quick. Stick with me, everybody, because we're not done with the brainstorming yet. Also, this is an example of some of the random RPG prep and scripture you can get on the Patreon if you subscribe. But my patrons recently voted that they wanted some lingering spirits. And I said at the beginning of the stream we were going to work on, or we were going to brainstorm some ideas for that. Lingering spirits. So let's do that, yeah? Dun, 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 dun. So... what we're brainstorming here is essentially like NPC ghost or ghost NPC ideas. Materializing before you is, or maybe bound to this. Haunting this area is, yeah, maybe we'll go with haunting this area is. Haunting this area is ... What? What ideas do we have for some lingering ghosts? They can be good. They can be neutral. They can be evil. Whatever ideas pop into your head. Let's hear them. While I want at least 8. And I'll toss in a few of my own, obviously, as we're brainstorming, and then sort of before I publish this, so that it's not just what was here on stream. Okay. Lingering ghosts. Lingering spirits. Lingering ghosts. What could we do? I want to try and push myself here to really think of some things that I haven't really done before with ghosts. Maybe we could do, haunting this area is the soul of the BBG's lieutenant, who they, I don't know how to fucking spell lieutenant, who they betrayed to, as a show of force. So you bump into the BBG's kind of sniveling, pathetic second in command who was murdered, and now they want to get back at the BBG. So sort of an ally. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Sort of a, or no. Well, I guess they weren't always the enemy of their enemy. They were their second in command, but now they're the enemy of the enemy. So that could be cool. It's like, do we trust this ghost? Do we want to work with this? This, what would be a cool, I don't know, the spirit of some orc lieutenant who was killed could be cool. Kenneth saying maybe do something with like neutral vibes, since they have seen it all, the good and the bad, believing only seeing the deciding moment of the bet. Oh, Kenneth, sorry, I'm not quite getting that one. Christian says, the collar of a long since dead pup, that if you bring it to the dog's grave, it is loyal spirit. Oh, a ghost dog. Okay. Yeah. What could we do to make the dog sort of whimsical or fantastical? Fantastical, is that a word? Like a Cerberus sort of a vibe? Like, just something to make it kind of cool. Or it could be like, ooh, what about, like, maybe instead of the collar, you have to bring the collar to the grave, like, what if it was like a toy, like the ball that the dog would fetch with, or a stick? And the party will, as they're, like, exploring this mansion or whatever, the ball will come rolling down the stairs, and it comes across very creepy, like, oh, like, what dropped that? What's up there in the darkness? Or when they're looking into a doorway that is just completely black, a stick will just kind of fly out and hit the ground. And if anybody picks it up and throws it, then the dog will go running off to fetch it, and that's how you get your ghost dog. Maybe we'll go with something like that. So we got a dog. Drops sticks and balls in front of the heroes, hoping to... Oh, why is it all italicized? That's annoying. Fetch. If player throws the ball or stick, the dog becomes loyal to them. Fun idea. What else? The trope for ghosts that is most prominent in my mind is the unfinished business, right? The person needs to... They need to learn the truth. They needed to finish making the thing that they made. They needed to confess something. Oh, that's a fun one. A ghost that needs to confess a sin to a priest. Wonder, how do you make that an interesting encounter where it isn't just the cleric like, well, okay, tell me what'd you do? I murdered a village. Okay. Like, how do you make it interesting? Let's at least get the idea down. A heretic who must confess their sins to a priest if they are to find peace in the afterlife. What's the encounter here? Besides just listening to an NPC describe what they did wrong. The encounter here is... I don't know. I'll probably come back to it. Hey, what's up, Dad? Mr. Grandfather Doom. The ghost confesses to everything but the reason that they became a ghost. They've just constantly harassing priests with things that don't really matter. Oh! Okay, interesting. Like they... Oh, you're saying they confess to everything they've done wrong except the, like, actual big sin? That's funny. Will confess to minor sins, but can't bring themselves to confess the one keeping their spirit trapped. Cool. Golden Sage T says maybe they can't remember what they did. They only know they did something terribly wrong. So you got to go figure it out for them. Cool. Or their sins are their sins are the domino. Oh, the domino that caused the fall of the gods and everything bad here. Oh my god, quite the sin. Yeah, everybody say hi to Grandfather Doom. That's my dad. Dad's tuning into the stream. What a nice guy. Okay. More ghost ideas to finish up the stream. More ghost ideas. What about a wizard's apprentice who can't find rest until they believe they've successfully casted a spell? So the challenge there is how do you through some stealth or some sleight of hand or whatever, convince them that the fireball that the wizard just cast actually came from them. That could be cool. I like that one. We could do... What are some types of characters that would make for an interesting ghost? I'm just going to shout off something that pop into my head. An executioner. Similar vein would be like a jailer. A ranger's ghost. The ghost of a town guard. An innkeeper's ghost. Oh, what about this one? The previous owner of the inn who doesn't like how the new owner is running things. So they're not like outright hostile, but I imagine like, oh, the new owner likes to, I don't know, they like to stack the steins a certain way. But every morning they come down like, oh my god, the steins have all moved. And they're worried that it's like this crazy poltergeist that's like trying to drive them out of here, when in actuality it's just this sort of control freak of the previous owner who wants it done the way that they did it in their life. Could be cool. It's like a harmless sort of a thing. Previous owner of the inn who doesn't like how the new owner is running things. Like shifting things. Cool. What else we got? Mr. Edam Sorojam said a spirit failed to confess their love, and if the party promises to help, they are guided to a small hidden treasure. Okay. See if you can, like, push that a little bit further. Who is this love? What's interesting about the love? Why didn't they confess their love? Christian says maybe a ghost is inhabiting a set of armor and won't rest until it has passed a set of nightly trials. Oh, that's fun. That's cool. Yeah, they need to... Like, they need to die a glorious death. A suit of knightly armor that must die a glorious death in battle for their god to accept them into the heavens. That's just a cool idea for a paladin order. As part of your oath, if you die and it isn't like a heroic, noble death, you better figure out a way to do that as a ghost, because that's like the oath demands it of you. I like that idea. A really cool one from Christian. Great idea. Golden says maybe they need to finish a half-made spell. It's almost done as a formula, but just something's missing. Or from Grandfather Doom says, what about ghosts that think they're mortal and that the PCs are the actual undead? Oh, they're like worried it's a cleric's ghost who thinks the PCs are zombies they must turn. That's cool. They're trying to cast undead or turn undead on the players. They're like, is he talking to us? Am I dead? A bard who was never popular and wants to convince the party to sit through their show. I think I've done that one before. It was a fun idea. Delman said maybe the innkeeper wants to drink his last ale or eat his final soup and needs the players to cook for them as they don't have hands or can't touch inanimate objects. An old lady that wants you to learn her cookie recipe. A barmaid ghost that non-stop tries singing everywhere in the city. She's like turning into a banshee. Okay. Wait, okay. So a barmaid is trying to sing in the city. She was turned into a banshee. Her voice is so bad it does harm. A banshee could be interesting. Like a tavern performer who was, or what about like someone was about to have their big break. They were going to perform in the opera. Wow, voice crack. Perform in the opera or something, and they were murdered the night before they could perform, and somehow they're haunting the theater hall. Or, what if, okay, the idea is sort of like, what if going Abraham Lincoln style, like a noble was assassinated during a play, but they will not leave until they see the play performed. But all of the actors are like, like I'm not going in there. I'm not going to go perform for this haunted theater. Because everybody who tries like dies. Maybe that's part of it. Because this ghost of this noble, like if they don't like the performance and they're really, really harsh as a critic, they kill whoever was doing the performance. So the players have to like do the performance for them. Does that work for like the banshee singer performer vibe? I think it's a fun one. Assassinated noble who won't leave the theater hall until they see the rest of the show. Harsh critic who kills anyone that disappoints them with their performance or with their acting. Cool. That's 8 ideas right there. I can flesh out another 1 or 2 and kind of polish these up later. Hell yeah. Oh. Ooh. You couldn't hear it, but there were some good cracks in there. All right, everybody. I appreciate your time today. I know we've been working on the Retched Tropics for a long time, like 2.5 weeks or so of streams for it. I appreciate you sticking around for it. All 8 of you weirdos who are still here right now watching this, I think that's very cool of you. And I'll see you again on Friday. Yeah, today's Wednesday. I'll see you on Friday for some sort of new, different type of stream. It'll be a good time. Don't forget, go check out my Patreon. Go check out my D&D one-shot campaigns I'm running on Sunday. I'm looking to try and get at least 3 players in one of those groups so I can start it up for you all. The first set one is free that you can try out with me and enjoy the, kind of get a sense for how I like to run my sessions. But that's it. That's all I've got for you today. We say these things in your unholy names. Amen. Have a good Have a good rest of your week, everybody. I will hopefully